All right. Welcome to the Will Austin Show here on iHeartRadio. We appreciate you being where you are. We are here in beautiful Central Florida. It is a little after 5 in the afternoon here on Tuesday, and we're doing a little doing a little internet radio. Why? Because we can, and why? Because we need to. We need to keep you informed of what's going on in the Will Austin Show empire. Okay, so it's not an empire. Okay, so it's not an empire, but it is an existence. It is a world, and there's things going on, and we need to let you know. Tomorrow, first thing tomorrow on the Willie Lawson Show on Blog Talk Radio, we're going to download that show and upload it to iHeartRadio because we really want you to hear it. Is my friend the congressman from the 15th Congressional District of Florida, Dennis Ross, who was going to have a lot to say on two subjects. The first subject is the funding of the Department of Homeland Security, DHS, and the refusal of the president to pass the authorization for the Keystone Pipeline. He vetoed that today, after mentioning in his State of the Union address that our energy policy should be bigger than one pipeline. Well, my deal is, Mr. President, can we just can we just get one pipeline done? Can we just get one thing done? You know what? In the spirit of cooperation, in the spirit of bipartisanship, in the spirit of just getting something done, can we get just one thing done? Well, apparently not if it's the thing that the Republicans want. The answer is no. So we can't just get one thing done. We can't get one pipeline done. What he wants is what he wants. So we're going to talk about both of those things. Congressman Ross put out an announcement just a little bit ago, stating his disappointment that the president had vetoed the Congress's authorization for the pipeline, which means that he is on his own path, because that was a bipartisan. I mean, that bill was passed bipartisanly, and the president is now on his own path. And although this may not seem to most people like a huge deal, it is evidence. It is pure evidence that the president is now on his own path, that he is truly the imperial president, as Mark Levin calls him. Hang on a second here. I got to make a little adjustment here. We got a lot of stuff here in the studio that is just in the way, and there's something I can do about that right now. Okay, but like Mark Levin calls him the imperial president. Well, now he is truly. This is one of the things that, because he was always talking about bipartisan this, bipartisan that, bipartisan the other, and this particular piece of legislation is a bipartisan piece of legislation that he is going to ignore. He's going to veto, as a matter of fact. So, or already has vetoed. It's a shame. It's a shame that we have a president who is completely and totally outside the parameters of Congress, and has a contempt of Congress, has a contempt for the process, has a contempt for the Constitution, thus has a contempt for the United States. Now, there isn't any way. Let me help you. There's no way to separate it, because the United States is the Constitution. That's the written idea of America, of the United States. The written idea, the abstract, if you will, of the concept of America is contained within the Constitution. And how government, especially at the federal level, is put together. Now, this president has decided that he is simply not going to play by those rules. He is going to go his own path. And by placating a lot of afraid conservatives, scaredy cat conservatives, and wild-eyed liberals, What has happened is that he has gone on his own path. He is completely now. There is now we have evidence that the president is going completely now on his own path and will remain on his own path for the remainder of his presidency. And there's only one procedural way to handle this. The only procedural way to handle this is to ensure that none of his ideas come to fruition. That's the only way to corral this president is with the purse strings. That none of his ideas, thoughts, initiatives come to fruition by purse string. That none of them happen. So his executive immigration initiative, has to be DOA tomorrow during the vote. It's interesting that that a president who has been for an entire 6 years has been pretty calculating. Has, I think, made especially today, made such a huge mistake strategically by vetoing the Keystone XL pipeline today, knowing full well that there's going to be a vote in Congress about DHS tomorrow. Now, what he's doing is he's hoping that he can convince the American people that it is Congress that has put the American people in danger if they don't pass a clean bill. And that's going to be the battle in the Senate. Should they pass a clean bill? Now, a clean bill, for those of us who went to public school, those of us that went to public school, is, they tell me, a bill that there are no amendments to. That you just, if it comes up and you say bill number HR 447 and you just say yay or nay, that you don't offer amendments, that you don't add language, you don't strike language. There isn't any way that this bill that will be voted on by the House of Representatives tomorrow can pass in a clean bill situation. I think the president has precluded. I think the president of the United States has precluded that activity from taking place. There isn't any way that can happen. I think that I'm of the mind that right now what Congress has to do is pass a bill that funds the essential portions of the Department of Homeland Security, and be really good at articulating that, and be really good at articulating that what they didn't fund were the president's immigration initiatives. Now, if people think it's tit for tat, then it's tit for tat, whatever it is. Because you've got to find a way to stop this imperial president. And what you do, the only choices that you have outside of impeachment are the purse strings. Now, I said this, and I've said this on my show on Blog Talk Radio, and I've said it here on iHeartRadio, and I've been right so far. There are three things that aren't going to happen. I told you that John Boehner would be Speaker of the House, and I've said that Barack Obama would not be impeached, and I've said to you that the Affordable Care Act will not be repealed. It's just not; those things aren't going to happen. So there'll be no impeachment of the president. The only thing that Congress can do, that the Republican-led Congress can do, and the House and the Senate, is stop his initiatives by virtue of That's where we are, ladies and gentlemen. That's where we are. So tomorrow, on the Will Austin Show on Blog Talk Radio, and we will upload the show to iHeartRadio. After we make some adjustments, so we'll upload it to iHeartRadio. So those of you who listen to iHeartRadio on your phone or in your car or wherever you listen to iHeartRadio, you will be able to have access to the show as well. So we're very much looking forward to that. So there you go. Let's see here. What happened? Something happened. Okay. We had a little thing happen with our internet connection, but it seems to be okay now. Today we're going to talk about conservative opportunities. Opportunities for conservatives to make, do well and to make a path, not only to the White House, but to injecting conservatism back into the mainstream in this country. That there are some opportunities, and we're going to talk about a few of them today. We talked about them on our Ball Talk Radio show earlier today. We're going to talk about them here, and we're going to see how you feel about them. Listen, if you've got any input, you can be in the chat room here on iHeartRadio, which is on Spreaker.com. If you're listening on Spreaker, you can listen and you can have access to the chat room. Or you can leave me an email at WLS860@gmail.com. I've got my email open, and I am looking for your emails. So if you want to send me an email, because I've said something that sort of hacked you off, or I've said something that has struck you all funny and weird, or something you agree with, or something or whatever, what you can do. Feel free to send me an email at WLS860@gmail.com. That's WLS Willie Lawson Show at 860@gmail.com. WLS860@gmail.com. So we're going to take a little break. We'll be back with more of the Willie Lawson Show here on iHeartRadio right after these messages.
Pick you up after school. Okay, I got it.
It's easy to take a day for granted. You and your family are connected by routine, and you stick to it. But what if a disaster strikes without warning? What if life as you know it has completely turned on its head? What if your day's routine is disrupted and you can't reach your family? Have you planned for that? Before a disaster turns your family's world upside down, it's up to you to be ready. Get a kit, make a plan, be informed. Today. Learn how at www.ready.gov. Ready.gov. This message brought to you by the Federal Emergency Management Agency and the Ad Council.
Hey! Is that a faucet running?
Nope, that's not a faucet. That's a river rushing through the forest.
It is?
Yeah, forest rivers provide over 100 million people with clean water to drink. The water comes straight from the forest to us. In fact...
What? I can't hear you because of the vacuum.
That's not a vacuum. That's the trees in the forest cleaning up the air we breathe.
How do trees clean the air?
They soak up the dirty air on their leaves, branches, and trunks, which means clean air for us.
Cool. I didn't know that.
Yep, but the forest does more than give us clean air and water. It gives us shade for hot days, birds to listen to, and trees to climb.
Wow, that's awesome. I didn't know how cool the forest could be. Hey, let's go explore some more.
Visit the forest today and enjoy all it does, just for you. To learn more about the forest and find one near you, go to discovertheforest.org. Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service and the Ad Council.
It's Thursday night, and you're grabbing drinks with some friends. Started off with a pitcher for the table, which quickly becomes two. There's pool. And there's the photo booth.
All right, everybody squeeze in. Say cheese!
Followed naturally by an order of wings. And another.
Can we get some extra ranch sauce?
Then there's the ceremonial nightcap.
So what are we doing this weekend?
And lastly, it's back to the car, which, if you're buzzed, could be the most expensive night of your life. Getting pulled over for buzz driving could cost you around $10,000 in fines, legal fees, and increased insurance rates. Nothing kills a buzz like getting pulled over for buzz driving, because buzz driving is drunk driving. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Man, do I love card night. You ready, boys? You got a king?
Go, fish dad!
Oh, come on! This is WWE superstar Titus O'Neil. The smallest moments can have the biggest impact on a child's life. Take time to be a dad today. Learn more at 877-4DAD-411 or visit fatherhood.gov.
Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
All right, welcome back to the Will Austin Show here on Blog Talk Radio. You know, I got my email open, and I just got I got an email update from the Washington Times, breaking news. You probably already know this. It is 5:24 p.m. on the East Coast here. George Zimmerman will not face any federal charges in the Trayvon Martin death, according to Eric Holder and according to the Justice Department. Justice Department said that George Zimmerman will not face any federal civil rights charges in the 2012 shooting of the death of Trayvon Martin. Isn't it interesting? Isn't it interesting? After all the uproar, after all of the flippant uproar, after Jesse Jackson and Al Sharpton and and all these other clowns show up and stir people up all over the country, come to Florida over this and stir people up all over Florida, cities all over Florida. The kids that spent a few days or a few weeks in the state capitol over these issues. When it's all said and done, nothing. It's exactly what I said it was before. And I said at the beginning. What I said at the beginning was that this whole thing was two idiots on a crash course for disaster. One of them was going to die that night. That's all there was to it. And it damn near was George Zimmerman. I had this conversation with my dear friend Shirley Huzar earlier this afternoon. I had this very same conversation with her this afternoon about this very same case, because we were talking about that George Zimmerman, quote, got off. Here's the deal. We've got to go on to something else, but this just showed up in my face, and because this is live and we can do this, and this is kind of how we do this thing here, is that this is crazy. This whole thing is crazy anyway. Two idiots. Now, George Zimmerman initially, of course, pulled in as a conservative darling, that somehow he was the standard bearer for right and truth and justice in the American way, when the fact of the matter is that George Zimmerman is an asshole who's an abuser. He's a cop wannabe, and really a moron. To start with, let's start with that is the picture of George Zimmerman, because that's who he is. Now, the picture they showed of Trayvon Martin was done intentionally. The picture is of a bright, shiny, smiley, adorable 12-year-old, which was not the Trayvon Martin that ended up in this confrontation. Was not the Trayvon Martin that ended up in this conversation. So everybody who was involved in this, the media and the madness, had an agenda. Conservative as well. Everybody had an agenda. And they were painting their standard bearer, whether it was Trayvon Martin or George Zimmerman, in the best possible light, while trying to portray the other in the worst possible light. When the fact of the matter is that these were two idiots who were on a crash course for disaster. Somebody's family was going to be destroyed by one of these idiots. I taught in the public school system for 15 years. I know kids like Trayvon. what Trayvon Martin said or thought to himself when he saw George Zimmerman following him, he says, I'm going to go knock that fool out. Who is his fool? I'm going to knock that fool out. What he didn't think was, well, maybe that fool has got a gun, and what you know is that you don't. What you also know is that if you decide to haul ass home or to your dad's house, there's no way that George Zimmerman is going to catch you. There's no way he's going to catch you. That's what Trayvon Martin knew. What he didn't know is if George Zimmerman had a firearm. He didn't have any idea. George Zimmerman, on the other hand, was already instructed by the 911 operator. We don't need you to do that, is what she said. She asked, are you following him? And he said, yes. And she said to him, we don't need you to do that. What's that mean for a normal thinking individual who isn't a dumbass? You can stop doing that. We don't need you to do that. Don't do that. So what should he have done? No, he wasn't told specifically to go back to his truck, but again, let's think about this like people who have two brain cells to rub together. Obviously, George Zimmerman does not. When he got asked, are you following him? And he said, yes. The 911 operator said, we don't need you to do that. What's that tell you? Don't do that. Stop doing that. So the only play that this idiot had at that point was to go back to his truck and wait for the police to get there. Did he go back to his truck and wait for the police to get there? No. He ended up in a physical confrontation with this 17-year-old kid who was not 12 and cute and cuddly, who was bigger and stronger and faster and was whipping his ass, who was whipping Zimmerman's ass. So this picture of Zimmerman being this giant monster that was able to, that Trayvon Martin was running or walking away and shot him, that's not the picture. They got into a physical confrontation. I'm sure words were exchanged, and suddenly there was fighting. Zimmerman was on the ground, and he was, and I have no doubt that he was taking an ass whooping, and he thought he was going to die. No doubt that I think that he was taking an ass whooping, and he was afraid of dying at that point. So what he decided to do was get his firearm. Now, I don't have any idea if Trayvon Martin was reaching for his gun or not. Wouldn't surprise me when they're that close together. Wouldn't surprise me at all. The mistake that Trayvon Martin makes is not just hauling ass home, because this idiot's got a gun. And he ends up getting his hand on the trigger, and it goes off. And what you have now is a dead 17-year-old kid over nothing. That's the reality of this story. So, as stupid, unfortunately, you can't put people in jail. I guess maybe fortunately you can, but you can't put people in jail for being a dumbass. You can't just lock up all the dumbasses. Who would work at the cable company? Who would work at the cable company if you put all the dumbass people in jail? George Zimmerman's crime was being a dumbass. There is no evidence at all that George Zimmerman profiled or targeted Trayvon Martin. He did shoot him in the middle of this physical altercation. Now, I think it's extremely interesting now that all those people who raised all that hell, who are they mad at now? Before, they were mad at the state of Florida for not indicting George Zimmerman, threatened all sorts of violence. Are they going to, now that we've seen two cases, and they're not similar, other than the feds have chosen not to prosecute. They're not similar except that in both cases, the feds have chosen not to prosecute. That the feds have chosen not to indict on federal civil rights charges. In the Mike Brown incident, the feds have chosen not to move forward with any charges against the police officer that shot Mike Brown. The feds have chosen not to move forward with any charges on George Zimmerman. Now, normally, all the race baiters, all the Al Sharptons of the world could scream wanton racism, except that the head guy in the White House is black. And they've been carrying his damn water for 6 years. What happens now? What happens now? The very same people who were in the streets with the T-shirts, hands up, don't shoot, because they were fired up about what happened to Trayvon Martin with George Zimmerman and in Florida. And now the same thing, and now in their mind, now it's not the same thing, but in their minds, now you've got this Mike Brown incident, right? What's your play now? What is your play now? Al Sharpton, what's your play? I'm curious as to what your play is. All those that, who burned down stores, who did rioting, who threw rocks at police. What's your play now? When you can't say it's racism because the head guy is a guy that you've been carrying his damn water for 6 years, what's your play now? Is it back to the evidence? Is it back to something that vaguely resembles the truth of the incident? What's your play now? All right, listen, conservative opportunities. Sorry, I had to go off on a little rant there because it was time and it was topical, and I was really jonesing for it. I guess. Hang on just a second. There you go. So, opportunities for conservatives to make huge strides in the urban community. First things first. First things first. And for me, the first thing first is education. Education is the door that's wide open for conservatives to interface in a positive way in the urban community. You know what? On Facebook, there is a thing called conservative outreach using school choice. Golly, that makes so much sense. Because one of the things that I think that connects parents to each other, regardless of socioeconomic status. I'm talking about the poorest of the poor living in the ghetto, not the hood, because I live in the hood, but the ghetto, the poorest of the poor, the poorest of the welfare mothers that you can conjugate in your brain, to the most wealthy soccer mom that you can conjure in your brain, living in a $1.3 million home behind a really big fence, not just a gated community that has the big gate with the automatic key. We're talking about a community that has the gate, the key, and a guard. Living in the $1.3+ million home. What both of those women care about more than anything is making sure that their kid has every single solitary opportunity. That's where they're the same person. Now, one has more opportunity than the other. And one of them has been told that the reason that their kid doesn't have an opportunity is because the other does. One of those women has been told that their kid's opportunity is being diminished by the other somehow. When the truth of the matter is that none of that stuff is true. The truth of the matter is that the rich white mother who has the child, because of the money they have, they've got choices. What money gives you is choices and options. That's what money gives you. It gives you options. It doesn't necessarily give you power, because somebody has more money than you. So it doesn't necessarily give you power. It's the difference between Chris Rock's people who are rich and people who are wealthy. People who are wealthy sign the checks to people who are rich. So the chance of money giving you power is fairly small. The chances of money giving you choices and options is pretty large. And you can see that at every level, whether you're talking about somebody who is who makes $10,000 a year, has certain options on where they're going to live and how they're going to live. They're probably going to live in an apartment with a roommate or 2 roommates, maybe 3 roommates. And that's how they're going to live. That's their option. Now, if they double their salary, maybe they don't have 2 roommates now. Maybe you have a roommate. You have an option. Maybe you don't live in a 2-bedroom apartment with 3 other people. Maybe you live in a 3-bedroom apartment with 3 other people, or a 2-bedroom apartment with 1 other person. Now you have options. Now you have options. Money gives you choices. And in education, money gives you choices. Now, here's the deal. The deal is that the mother that I talked about who lives in the ghetto, because she lives in the ghetto and because of economics, she's got a lot fewer choices to educate her child than the rich woman living behind in the gated community. Now, here's the deal. The woman who's living in the ghetto is paying school taxes like everybody else, a lot of times through sales tax, if not property tax. A lot of people, some school districts are funded purely by property taxes, others by other means like sales tax and the like. So that person is paying, even the poorest of the poor is paying part of their income, no matter where they get it, for school taxes, and not getting the benefit of the very best schools. There's two things that you have to consider. We need to take a break, but there's two worlds that you have to consider: inside the public school system and outside the public school system. And we'll talk about that when we get back. Thanks so much for coming to the Will Austin Show here on Blog Talk Radio. We'll be back right after these.
If you want to be an adoptive parent, it doesn't matter if you're a little different.
I'm a box troll. Oh, really?
What you look like.
Your ears aren't pointy. I slept on them funny.
Or what you sound like. You just need to be there. You don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care don't need perfection. They just need you. Call 888-200-4005 or visit adoptuskids.org. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
All in together now. We can make it better now. Come on, can we do it?
Yeah, you know that we can.
We rope it up,
cause we know how to jump.
we roll it out,
Cause we know how to skate.
we'll cut it down,
Cause we know what to eat.
we'll swap it out.
We eat healthy stuff.
Can we do it?
Yeah, you know that we can.
Can we do it?
Yeah, you know that we can.
Yeah, well come on.
Today's a good day to grab your kids and hang out with them for an hour. Dance, walk, play a sport, or cook a healthy meal. Because just moving a little and eating better every day can help make you and your child healthier.
Can we do it?
Yeah, you know that we can.
We'll ball it up,
Cause we know how to hoop.
we'll mess around,
Cause we know how to play.
we'll drop it down,
Cause we know how to dance.
we'll veg it up.
Veg night and day.
Can we do it?
Search We Can online to find doable tips and activities that you can use every day to keep you and your kids healthy. Remember, that's We Can. A message from the Ad Council, HHS, and NIH's We Can program.
You have discriminating taste and an eye for the impressive. You need to surround yourself with not only beauty, but quality. That is why you are looking for a new construction home for you and your family. Let the experts at New Homes of Tampa Bay guide you to and through your new home purchase process. With access to hundreds of model homes throughout the Tampa Bay area, New Homes of Tampa Bay is sure to find that perfect match of budget and beauty you are looking for. New Homes of Tampa Bay can save you thousands of dollars while costing you nothing. Call us today before you start your new home search. New Homes of Tampa Bay at 813-770-9452 and at www.newhomestpa.com. Well, good morning. Are you interested in upping your conservative IQ? To be more solid in your conservative thought, to be able to debate at a higher level, to be able to understand at a higher level what conservatism in America is really all about. Well, I can help you now. Alongside us as partners is a new partner, the RedRiverChronicle.com website. The RedRiverChronicle.com website, whose founder is Kevin Batts, understands what conservatism is all about and understands it in the way they write their articles, their commentary, all the educational material that is on the website, put together in a great way, very easy to navigate. So if you want to up your IQ, go to RedRiverChronicle.com. All right, we're back with more of the Will Austin Show here on iHeartRadio. Thank you again for tuning in this afternoon. We appreciate it. We appreciate that you spent some time at the WillieLawsonShow.com website. It's a new day on the website. We've got a couple of new tabs, and you can check them out. And it is now, and I don't even know if this is okay to say, but I'm going to say it anyway. Because of a fantastic partnership that we have with Liberty News and Grassfire Nation. And you can go to their websites too, libertynews.com and grassfire.com. That we've got a wonderful revenue sharing program on Florida Dash that you can help us. You can help this endeavor, this Will Austin Show Spacebar production, Renaissance 2015 endeavor that we're in. That we're doing, but by simply going to the website, by putting the Florida Dash website in your list of internet things you do. Now, we've all got internet things we do. When we turn the computer on and we go to our regular sites to check those out first. Now, for some of us, it's Twitter. Some of it is Facebook. For some of it is ESPN. For others of us, it's Drudge. For others of us, it's Huffington Post, CNN, Fox News, townhall.com, that we check there first. That every time we spend some time with our computer anyway on the internet, we do that. And a lot of us are doing that now with our smartphones. We have some go-to things that once we get online, for the day, that we go to first and we always check. And what I'm asking for in the next month, between 2/24/2015 and 3/24/2015, is that you, for a month, you insert Florida-.com into the things that you look for. That and the WillieLawsonShow.com. One of the two, or both. Both would be beautiful. That you insert those into one of those slots of things that you always do. After you leave ESPN, that you drop by the WillieLawsonShow.com website. WillieLawsonShow.com, because I think that really helps us. That helps us out more than you know. That helps us out in all sorts of ways. So that's what we need you to do. All right, listen. We were talking about conservative opportunities and education, school choice, school vouchers being a fantastic door into the urban community because of the simple fact, and a very simple fact, that it is education that is always going to be a pertinent issue and educational choice a pertinent issue in the urban community, where people have the least amount of choice because of economics. Now, inside the public school system that we talked about, there's two worlds, inside and outside. Inside the public school system, there is a lot of lip service being paid to school choice. So if they, and very simply, for those of you who don't have children or don't live, who aren't paying attention, all that means is that if your neighborhood school sucks, then you have the ability inside the public school system to choose another school for your children. You're already paying taxes anyway. So if there's a seat somewhere else, then it's okay for your kid to go somewhere else. Now, here where I live, there's school choice of sorts, and there is also the magnet program, where there are specific programs at specific schools that your kid can apply to go to. Now, how the magnet program falls down, because the magnet program it was devised to supplant, in my opinion, school choice. For instance, not far from where I live, there's Williams Middle School. Williams Middle School is an international baccalaureate magnet. It's 100% magnet. That means that all the kids there are part of the International Baccalaureate program. Now, it's sitting right in the middle of the of an urban area that really, what needs more than anything is not a magnet school for white kids and Indian kids to come to. What it really needs is a really good, involved in the community middle school, and that's what it didn't get. So it got this prize, so to speak, of the International Baccalaureate magnet that the kids who live in the area can apply to. Now, if they don't apply to the International Baccalaureate is an advanced education system, so you're going to have to be a little smarter kid to be able to survive there. Now, if that's not your cup of tea, if academics aren't your cup of tea, there's a school that is probably at least 10 miles away from there that they bus the children to. So the children who live right next to it, who can see the school, the IB magnet school from where they live, that's not where they get to go. They get to go somewhere else, to a school that is not nearly as high performing. That's not the kind of choice that parents need in the urban community. And these are the kind of things that conservatives need to be addressing in every community, mine and every community around the country. Are we giving parents every option that we can, even inside the public school system? Now, I say that because the other argument again needs vouchers. That's a voucher that says that my school, the school that my kid goes to, is such a freaking nightmare. I want to take my tax dollars and I want them to go down the road to this little private school. Or I want him to go to this charter school. I want him to go I want my kid to go to somewhere else, and I want his money, his tax dollars, to follow him. Yeah, that's where the conversation always gets more tense, and it gets more tense because teacher union people and people who are tied into the current system see that as a loss, and they see that as a way to that they're losing control over what your kid learns, and they just lose their heads, catch fire when parents say, "I'm just going to send my kid to Christian school. I'm going to send him to Catholic school because the Catholic school education around the country has traditionally been better than the public school education." And that's non-Catholic people sending their kids to Catholic school. Why? Because the quality of the education is better. That's non-Catholic sending their young men, in the Tampa Bay area to Jesuit High School, because Jesuit High School has a reputation of really stringent academics. And they do a great job with turning boys into young men. the Jesuits do. And a lot of parents want that for their young men. And a lot of black parents want that for their young men, especially because of the world we live in. We just talked about 2 incidents earlier that that are the cure, that are a part of the cure for the Trayvon Martins and the Mike Browns of the world, and these situations. Turning boys into men, not boys into survivors of some sort of urban warfare. And you just hope that your kid survives long enough to get the heck out. That's not what parents want for their children. So in the urban community, they know that education is that opportunity. It's not all of it, obviously, but it is an integral part. That's the opportunity, and this is the opportunity for conservatives to hop in and say, you know what, we're going to get in this community, and what we're going to talk about and what we're going to try to push is school choice, educational opportunities, whether they be in school choice inside the school system, whether they be vouchers, getting the kids out of failing school districts, or that intermediary that is charter schools. Whatever it is, education in the urban community is a wide open door for conservative opportunities in winning over the urban community in 2015, 16, and into the future. And it's easy because you don't. Every time I talk to conservatives about the urban community, the first thing they say is, well, the Democrats have that all wrapped up. Bullcrap. No, they don't. As a matter of fact, with all these things that I just mentioned, especially about education, it is liberal Democrats that are standing that are the George Wallaces that are standing in the doorway, preventing their children from leaving failing schools. Obviously, openly failing schools. It is the liberal Democrats and the union bosses that are standing in the doorway, preventing your kid from the urban kid from leaving and finding a better option. Literally coming up with new programs, coming up with new things, rewording old programs, coming up with things like block scheduling, the Copernican Plan, Common Core, Florida Core. All the while screaming for more money, because that is the liberal go-to. If we just had if we had a little more money, we could do more. You know what? We're almost there. We need a little bit more money. If we had a little bit more money, a little bit more money. When it is damned obvious that there are school districts and there are schools around the country that are doing a lot better with our youngsters on half of what some school districts spend on per child. So it is, the truth, again, back to the truth. The truth of the matter is it's not really how much you spend per child on that is the quality of one school system, is what you do. It's the quality of what you do with that child and the environment that you put them in that makes the difference. Is it an academic learning environment, or is it a social experiment? Our schools are social experiments. They're not schools anymore. They're not learning environments. They're social experiments. They're petri dishes. And what we want to do is get our kids, and people in the urban community want to get their kids out of the petri dish and into an educational environment where education and achievement are the things that are most important. Not all the social experiments. Not if the straight kids get along with the gay kids, and the gay kids aren't killing themselves, and the emos aren't cutting, and that's not part of the educational experience. The educational experience is how are you doing in algebra, and how can we make you do better in algebra? How are you doing in English Lit? And how can we make you do better in English Lit? How are you doing in science and biology? And how are you doing in these classes, these core classes that are developing you educationally for the next level? That's what school's all about. Listen, my name is William Lawson. I'm going to take a little break. We'll be right back right after these messages.
Hey, parents of children with asthma, here's another hit from the Breathe Easies.
Come on and clean up the mold. Clean up the mold. Mold can trigger asthma in kids young and old. Come on and clean up the mold. Clean up the mold in your house.
This song may be fun, but childhood asthma is not. Preventing asthma attacks can be as simple as cleaning up the mold and mildew in your house. For more Breathe Easy tips to help stop asthma attacks, go to noattacks.org. Brought to you by the EPA and the Ad Council.
Ranger Station, Ranger speaking.
Yeah, hi. I'd like to report a bear sighting.
Location?
In the woods, just outside of town.
Oh, not surprising. You've got your home. Bears have theirs.
Yeah, but see, this wasn't just any bear. This bear was wearing jeans and a hat, as in Smokey Bear.
Jeans and a hat. That's definitely Smokey. What exactly did he have to say?
Well, we were about to head home, after having a bonfire.
Oh, I can guess where this is going.
Right. See, Smokey told me the fire wasn't actually out. He said if it's too hot to touch, it's too hot to leave.
That's true. Did you know that 9 out of 10 wildfires are caused by humans? That means 9 out of 10 wildfires can be prevented.
Wow, no kidding?
I'm a forest ranger. We never kid.
Sorry.
that was a joke. Oh. If you see someone in danger of starting a wildfire, step in and make a difference, because 9 out of 10 wildfires are caused by humans. Brought to you by Smokey Bear, the U.S. Forest Service, your state forester, and the Ad Council. Learn more at SmokeyBear.com. Only you can prevent wildfires.
Come on, hit a homer, Jesse!
Let's go, guys!
Hey, did you guys know that kids who play sports earn more money when they grow up?
Of course. I knew that.
Hey, did you guys know that kids who read books have a bigger vocabulary?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Wow, jinx. Did you guys know that friendly children have more friends?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah,
mm-hmm.
yeah.
That's true. I knew that. Did you guys know that winter babies are better at music?
Everyone knows that.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, it's pretty obvious.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
obvious.
Oh, hey, guys, did you know that most people think they're using the right car seat for their kid, but they're not?
Huh, I didn't know that.
I'm pretty sure I knew that.
I'm pretty sure you didn't.
Parents who really know it all know for sure that their child is in the right car seat at the right age and size. Visit safercar.gov/the-right seat to make sure your child is protected. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
All right, welcome back to the Will Lawson Show here on iHeartRadio. I trust that you are having a good time today. I know I am. And I'm trusting that things are well where you are. If you are in the northeastern portion of the United States, you have been inundated with snow and sleet and freezing rain and all that crap that we don't get here in Florida. Sucks for you, buddy. Sorry, no, I just stay safe. Do what the authorities tell you to do. For those of you who, there's been a lot of roof cave-ins, about 100 roof cave-ins in Massachusetts. Listen, stay off the damn roof. Spend the money. Get the professionals to get up on the roof. For those of you who don't know, here's the problem. That snow is heavy. It's way heavier than most roofs are designed for. And underneath the snow is a layer of ice. It's very slippery. It's very dangerous. You can get injured. You can get killed up there on your roof. So get off your roof. Don't think about going up there tomorrow. A lot of you who are listening to the show right now are thinking about, well, I got to get up on the roof tomorrow. No, you don't. Get somebody who's a professional to get up on the roof and get that ice off your roof. That's for sure. But it ain't you. It ain't you. Don't do it. Get somebody to do it. And I know that it may be expensive now, especially because there's such a call for it. And maybe it's been up there for a few days and you're kind of freaking out about it. But It's not worth dying over. It's not worth losing your life. I mean, what kind of winter would that be? The winter of 15 where dad fell off the roof, broke his neck, and died. And that's how they're going to remember this winter. Don't do it. Don't frickin' do it. That's a public service announcement by the Will Lawson Show and the Ad Council. Any case, okay, not by the Ad Council, just me. All right, listen. We're talking about conservative opportunities. We talk about education. The other one is immigration. The other big one is immigration. Unabated immigration, especially from the our southwestern borders, damages the urban community more and to a higher degree. And I'll tell you why. And you're wondering why. Well, let me tell you. Shut up. Let me tell you, and I'll tell you. Shut up, and I'll tell you. And I'll tell you. Here's why. It's because it is a socioeconomic battle for jobs. That's the problem. It's very, very simple, and this administration is not telling you that. You know, a long time ago, seems like forever ago, back in 2007, then Senator Obama was in a meeting here in St. Petersburg, Florida, not far from where I'm sitting right now, in a gymnasium in St. Pete, talking to a predominantly black audience. When a group who called themselves the Uruhu movement, the freedom movement, held up a banner and eventually got the senator's attention, and the lead person asked them the question, how does he see himself helping I think the phrase was African Americans if he's elected president? And to that question, the members of the Uruhu movement were summarily booed by a predominantly black audience. Why? Because how dare they hold this person in any way, shape, or form accountable? At that time, he clicked up all the boxes. Young, black, Democrat. There you go. What else was there? He had said all the right things. That it was time for change. Whatever the hell that means. He had not defined what that change was. He had said that he's going to fundamentally transform. Whatever the hell that is. And he was black. So you were going to ask him, really? You're going to ask him what he was going to do? That's what you were going to ask him? What he was going to do for black people? So that's what you wanted to ask him? Are you serious? Why would you do such a thing? What are you trying to do? Don't you know he's black? So of course he's going to help black people. Of course he is. Look at him. He's black. Did you hear me? He's black. All right. But there's a problem. Just a few years later, 6 years later, this very same person is instituting an executive initiative to allow at the very least, at least 5 million people who are here illegally to stay. The same 5 million people who are competing with those very same black people who said, he's black. for jobs. And I've said this on my show before, and I want you to get this because it's very, very important. Whatever ills that are happening in the general community are always amplified and multiplied in the urban community. So if the economy is affecting the general population at a factor of 10, it is affecting the urban population by a factor of 100. If everybody else is having a recession, the ghetto's having a depression. And that's the way it is. And as the general population is clawing its way slowly out of the sludge of a jobless, hopeless recession, this jobless, hopeless, quote, recovery, end quote, there's been little or no change in the hood. Little or no change. And with that, this president is allowing at least 5 million people who are going to compete with the 11 or 12% of African Americans in this country who are already fighting for their existence. It's going to add a whole nother layer of people fighting for the same positions. Now, we're not letting in and letting people stay who are nuclear physicists and neurosurgeons. These are the people who are going to be working at the McDonald's, working at the Burger Kings, going to be working at the Walmarts and the Targets. Those are the jobs that black people are going to be, people in the urban community are going to be competing for. Black people are going to be competing for. And this president is doing his damnedest right now to make it as difficult as possible for those American citizens of African descent. How about that? Like that, black people? To get those jobs, maintain those jobs, and because they're fighting. They're fighting people who are not supposed to be here, and they're fighting them being given an economic advantage. The economic advantage is that they're getting Social Security numbers, if the president has his way, so they can file taxes and get earned income credits for the past 3 years, whether they were here or not. They're getting earned income credit. They're getting a refund for a product they didn't buy, in essence. And then will probably go on, a good number of them go on the public dole as well. So they're coming, not the story, they're coming with $12 in their pocket. They're coming with a sizable check in their pocket to start in front of people in the urban community already. And will not only get a push to get started in their new American life, they're going to get pulled because a lot of them are going to be on public assistance, or going to get the welfare. They're going to get Obamacare. So they got a push and then a pull right past most people who are in the urban community who have been struggling for years and years and years and years and years. While those politicians who are supposed to serve and protect the urban community are allowing it to happen and cheering it on. Yeah, I know, I'm amazing, but that's exactly what's happening. And I wish it were different. And I wish I could characterize it in some other way. But I can't, because that's what it really is. That's what it is. And immigration is a great open door for the conservative to come in and say, this plan and these plans to have these people come in from other countries this is an attack against you. And there's already voices in the urban community that know this. So we are building allies. We are seeking out allies. Now, we may not. Here's the hard part for conservatives, and actually the people in the urban community as well. Here's the hard part. The hard part is that we may not agree on everything. We're not gonna meet and sing kumbaya on everything. We're not gonna hold hands and go dancing off into the sunset on everything. But on this thing, on education and immigration, we can agree. Without a doubt. Let's use these intersections of agreement to move forward into the urban community, change hearts and minds, and win. My name is Willie Lawson of The Willie Lawson Show here on iHeartRadio. Thank you for listening. We'll be back in probably tonight in our take-home edition on Spreaker.com. All depending on how the phone charges. And till we see you again, go out there and learn something, love somebody, and for goodness sakes, take care of yourself. We'll see you when we see you. Bye-bye now.